Hey, big head.
You made the team, and after you make the team, this is when the real work begins. Like, you think that competition to make the team was the hard part. When you actually make the team and you gear up for B&B, that's when the real work starts to happen. That's when you have endless concepts, writing sessions, choreography, the long hours, arguing back and forth with teammates about we should do this, we should do that, and all that. So from your experience gearing up for B&B, what was it like? Was it a lot of bickering back and forth? Was it pretty smooth, or was it, everybody was just green because, maybe it was their first time, or how did it go?
Yeah.
Alphas on the team, because our team had a lot of alphas. So there was a lot of like back and forth. Was there a lot of alphas on your team?
Yeah, and I was one of them. I'm not even gonna lie. So I've been on 3 different B&B teams.
Right.
The names that I shouted out, that was from the second year. That's where me and you met. And just want to acknowledge my other teammates as well. But yeah, it was long. So what people don't realize about these poetry teams, or just like the slam world, is that you train like you're an athlete. It is the hours, the dedication,
8-hour days, 10-hour days,
the discipline, and you needed to come prepared. If you didn't come prepared, then you had to go home.
Right.
You didn't do anything. Right. So you come to practice and your poem isn't memorized. Then it's like we can't do anything with that.
Right. They're gonna tell you go outside, go over the poem, while the rest of us work on
something else, right? And now you're feeling left out, like dang, I can't be a part of anything else. And then it's then the creativity component in writing with other people and listening to other people who are just as good as you and better than you. There was some real magic and chemistry. And like, oh man, like excuse me, I'm just kind of like really reminiscing right now. It was a good time, but as far as friction, yes, there was friction. I was one of the team leaders, and making sure that everybody was just as dedicated and disciplined and was prepared, because like not everybody prepares the same. Not everyone is as serious as the next person. Some people look at it as, look, I'm in competition mode, like we got to win. And some people are just like, look, I'm just here. I'm just here for the good vibe. So how do you
Florida? I kind of want to see what this state is like, and
right. So how do you corral a whole bunch of different people from so many different backgrounds under the same love of poetry? But how do we kind of work together cohesively so we can, be a team, have chemistry, and really show that we are a collective that kills, especially coming from Orlando, Tampa, when you think of spoken word poetry, what do you think of? California, right? Your team, amazing. But you think of LA, you think of the Bay, you think of Philly, you think of New York.
Yeah.
You think of Chicago, DC. 100%. Yeah, but you don't really think of Orlando, Tampa. So we were the underdogs, and we had to kind of prove to others and ourselves, mostly ourselves, that we are just as good, and that we can level up. Right. We can level up to the competition out there. And we did. So yeah, it was hard, but the best, hands down, or one of actually the best team experiences that I've had.
And I just have to correct you a little bit. When people think of poetry and they think California, they don't think Stockton. So just had to make that correction. This be more LA, Bay Area, which us. But
I'll give you that. But Stockton has the fire. Like y'all always go with the fire.
In 2010, we met. Unfortunately, we did not get to compete against each other, which that would have been pretty awesome if we ever got that opportunity. I think we would have beat you. But anyway, that's besides the point.
I'm not even lying. Maybe.
Maybe. Back home.
No, Deb, you're great. Like your team was amazing.
The team was great.
Yeah. So probably.
So when we got back home, we reconnected, and then when we started conversing on the phone, I went back on YouTube to see what poems you actually did that year, because obviously I wasn't in the same bout as you, and I got to see Oreo, which is obviously is my favorite poem, and then I also got to hear like Release. And those poems I was pretty much in awe of, because I just liked the wordplay, I guess you could say. You're kind of like MC-ish, but not like rhymey MC-ish, But you worry about the play-ons and all that good stuff. what is the meaning behind each one of those poems, Oreo and Release, and how did the concepts come about?
Yeah, great question. I do want to correct you. 2011. It was 2011, not 2010.
2011 what?
When we met or when I did those poems, that was 2011.
So you just want to keep arguing with me on
basically. Just we'll fact check. I thought you did the research. I thought you did the research.
Let's do it.
I don't want to argue that, but yeah, Oreo and Release. Like, so those are, some poets have their signature poems. Like you go anywhere and people are going to do Oreo, do this poem. Like Oreo was mine. And I was known as the Oreo. So Oreo was going back to being bullied when I was younger. Because of how I spoke or how I carried myself. They thought I was a white girl. So black on the outside, one on the inside.
That's part of the poem. That was the quote.
Gosh, I don't even know if I still know it.
We know it. It's in the book. We know it. What you talking about? It's in the book. We know it.
It's in the book. Shout out to Liz.
Backdrop. We got it.
And it looks so great standing up. It looks so awesome.
It looks amazing. Yes.
Oh, thank you. But so I wrote that poem basically as a response. It was the first time that I felt like I was standing up for myself when writing that poem. I wrote it out of frustration. And I wrote that in high school. So imagine young, so elementary, elementary all the way to high school to be taunted for the same thing, like my whole life. It was a lot. So writing that poem was the first time that I felt like I was taking agency or having agency over myself and being unabashedly proud of how I came, how I presented, and not care about what others were thinking. So that's the genesis of Oreo. And then we have Release, her melody. So again, as we talked before, like I loved music. I loved the hip hop, right? So we talk about, like Atlanta, like, Florida stuff, but I was really, really into like conscious rap, Common, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, like Hotep stuff, I guess, but A Tribe Called Quest and Nas and Jay-Z and, all the people that I can't think of right now, but Pharisee, like Lauryn Hill, I can go on, but I was a huge hip hop buff. And I was watching a documentary on Lauryn Hill, and I was just in awe of her story and felt like I needed to do an ode to Lauryn Hill and to all the other female MCs in the game that were just not appreciated. I don't want to say underrated, because underrated to me feels like they didn't have a following. They didn't have flow. They just they weren't anybody, but they are so important and integral to the fabric of hip hop. You know what I mean? That I had to say something about it. Yeah. So, and I wrote that in high school again, So that's where those poems came. And I really wanted to be a rapper and I just couldn't be a rapper. So being a poet was the next best thing. So that's as close to music as I'll ever get.